Have you ever heard someone say, "Don't cry"? Perhaps it was a parent comforting their child who fell down, or a friend trying to console another going through hard times. These moments of solace are filled with care and kindness, urging us to stop crying and instead focus on the brighter aspects of life. But have you ever pondered why these words, "don't cry," can sometimes sound harsh and dismissive? It implies that tears should be suppressed, that emotions should be hidden away, and that sadness has no place in our lives. Why would anyone want to avoid tears? What if crying could be a portal to deeper understanding, healing, and growth? Welcome to this documentary. In today's video, we will explore the profound meaning behind the act of crying by delving deep into a biblical account. We will discover why Eve cried after leaving the Garden of Eden and the significant impact these tears had on her future and ultimately ours. Join us as we unravel the wisdom and insights hidden within this powerful narrative, challenging conventional beliefs and inviting you on a journey of self-discovery and spiritual enlightenment. The Garden of Eden was a place of beauty, harmony, and perfect communion with God. But what was it like when Eve first stepped outside its protective embrace? Let's delve into the scriptures and uncover the secrets of her experience. Genesis chapter 3, verse 6. When the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and desirable for gaining wisdom, she took and ate, and she gave some to her husband who was with her, and he also ate. Eve, driven by curiosity and desire for knowledge, succumbed to temptation and ate the forbidden fruit. This act marked a pivotal moment, not only for her, but for the entire human race. The consequences of disobedience were immediate and profound. Suddenly, the garden they called home was no longer a place of innocence and unity. Instead, it became a source of shame and separation. Imagine standing before a closed door, knowing that on the other side lies everything you have ever known and loved. With trembling hands, you reach for the handle, turning it slowly, as if reluctant to sever ties with the past. As the door swings open, revealing a dimly lit hallway stretching into the unknown, you take a hesitant step forward, each footfall echoing in the unsettling silence. The once familiar surroundings have transformed into something alien and cold, devoid of the warmth and comfort that once resided there. The air itself seems heavy with unspoken words, carrying the weight of unspoken emotions. It's as if the very walls are closing in, suffocating you with the immensity of what lies ahead. This is the essence of Eve's experience as she left the Garden of Eden, a profound sense of loss and the dawning realization of what she had left behind. As Eve walked out of the garden, hand in hand with Adam, they stole one last glance over their shoulders, hoping to catch a glimpse of the life they had left behind. But what did they see? Was it the lush vegetation, the gentle flowing river, or the majestic tree of life? Or perhaps it was the absence of those things that made their hearts sink. Whatever it was, that moment of farewell carried the weight of an entire world of difference. For the garden was not just a physical place, it was a state of communion with God, a realm of innocence and harmony. By stepping out, they were leaving all of that behind, embarking on a journey into the unknown, a world full of toil and pain, choices to make and consequences to face. Each step they took was a reminder of what was lost, of the paradise they would never see again. Yet amidst the sorrow, there was also a glimmer of hope, a promise of redemption, and the chance to learn and grow through the challenges that lay ahead. But what did Eve feel as she stepped into the world for the first time? Did she feel fear, confusion, or a deep sense of loss? The answer is yes, all of these and more. As she looked around her, did she see the beauty of creation, the wonder of nature, or the pain and suffering that had entered the world because of their disobedience? All of these emotions were swirling within her as she navigated this new reality. Genesis chapter 3, verse 16. To the woman he said, I will make your pains in childbearing very severe. With painful labor you will give birth to children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. Immediately, Eve's perspective shifted. She looked at Adam, her partner in both sin and sorrow, and realized that their roles had changed. No longer were they equals in a paradise of innocence. Now there was a hierarchy, a division, a reminder of their disobedience. She was no longer just Eve, the companion of Adam in the garden. She was now Eve, the mother of humanity, tasked with the immense responsibility of bearing children, of continuing the human race that had been marred by sin. And as she looked out into the world, she knew that this world was different now. It was a world full of toil and pain, full of decisions that would shape the future of humanity. Now let's turn our attention to the weight of sin and regret that Eve must have felt. Imagine carrying a heavy burden on your shoulders, a weight that seems to press you down and steal your breath. This is the burden of sin, the knowledge of wrongdoing and its consequences that can haunt us long after the deed is done. Now picture yourself walking through life under the shadow of regret, constantly wondering what could have been if you had chosen a different path. The weight of this uncertainty can be overwhelming, making every step forward feel like a struggle against unseen forces. In Eve's case, her sin was not intentional, yet the consequences were real. The expulsion from the Garden of Eden was not just a physical separation, but a spiritual one, cutting her off from the direct presence of God. The once intimate relationship was now strained, and the road to reconciliation seemed long and arduous. She had to come to terms with the fact that she would never again experience the blissful state of innocence and communion with God that she had known in the garden. The expulsion from the Garden of Eden was a punishment, but it was also an opportunity. It forced Eve and Adam to rely on their own strengths and resources to survive in a world that was no longer protected and provided for them. They had to learn to work, to adapt, and to forge their own path in a world that was now full of challenges. Let's reflect on the strength and resilience that Eve must have displayed as she navigated these uncharted waters. Despite the hardships and the constant reminder of their disobedience, Eve found ways to persevere. She bore children, tended to the land, and most importantly, she maintained her connection to God, albeit from a distance. Her strength was not just physical, but emotional and spiritual as well. She had to come to terms with her own guilt and find a way to move forward while carrying the weight of her sin. This required a level of resilience and faith that is truly remarkable. Amidst the challenges, Eve also discovered the power of hope. The expulsion from the garden was not the end of her story. It was merely a new beginning. She knew that God had promised her descendants that one day a Savior would come and redeem them from the consequences of sin. This gave her something to hold on to, something to look forward to, even in the darkest of times. In conclusion, the expulsion from the Garden of Eden was a pivotal moment in Eve's life and in the history of humanity. It marked the beginning of a new era, one that was filled with challenges, pain, and the constant struggle against sin. Yet despite the hardships, Eve displayed remarkable strength, resilience, and hope. She faced her new reality with courage, learning to navigate the complexities of life outside the garden. And she held on to the promise of redemption, knowing that God's plan for humanity was far from over. While the Bible doesn't explicitly state what Eve felt after leaving the Garden of Eden, we can draw meaningful conclusions from her actions and the broader narrative. Through her story, we gain insight into the human condition, the consequences of sin, and the enduring power of hope and faith. Eve's tears were not the end. They were the beginning of a heart open to God's mercy. Her story reminds us that no matter how far we fall, God's grace calls us to leave sin behind, embrace forgiveness, and live in joy with Him. Will you answer that call? Thank you for joining us on this journey of faith and discovery. If this message touched your heart, we invite you to like, share, and subscribe for more Bible-inspired content. Comment below, are you ready to walk in God's light and grace today? And may the peace of God be with you always.